Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman began 2018 on a high. He'd just concluded an anti-corruption drive, ended the ban on female drivers, and brought movies and concerts to the kingdom. He launched an international charm offensive in March, hoping to build support for his plan to diversify and liberalize the Saudi economy. Then, just days before a large gathering of international companies and investors in Riyadh, journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, sparking global outrage.
All evidence gathered shows that Jamal Khashoggi was the victim of a savage murder. To cover up such savagery would hurt human conscience. We expect the same sensitivity from all parties to the incident, starting with Saudi Arabia.
Looking to avoid the fallout, many companies distanced themselves from Riyadh. CNN, CNBC and other media outlets deserted the event known as Davos in the desert, as did investors in large companies like Blackstone, Viacom and Uber. And some, including Richard Branson's Virgin Group, suspended all business ties with Saudi Arabia. But the kingdom's oil fields provide the lifeblood for many economies. While their governments continue with business as usual, many of their leaders are distancing themselves from the heir to the throne. But US President Donald Trump is not one of them and has stood by the Crown Prince.
They're buying hundreds of billions of dollars worth of things from this country. If I say we don't want to take your business, if I say we're going to cut it off, they will get the equipment, military equipment and other things from Russia and China.
American opposition leaders are calling for a much harsher response.
Only a strong response by the United States will send a clear and unequivocal message that such actions are not acceptable in the world's stage.
If more voices join their public rebukes, it could become much harder for the kingdom to attract new investors, jeopardizing Mohammed bin Salman's plans to transform and open the economy. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Well, let's get more on this now with Nader Habibi, who's in Waltham, Massachusetts. He's a professor of the economics of the Middle East at Brandeis University. We also have our senior business producer, Mobin Nasir, here in the studio. Welcome to you both. Nader, if I could begin with the latest news out of Saudi Arabia, and that's King Salman's latest cabinet reshuffle. The kingdom now has a new foreign and labour and Islamic affairs minister, as well as a new culture ministry among some of the key changes. What was behind that move?
First of all, good evening. Thank you for inviting me. I believe there were several reasons for that reshuffling of cabinet, and it's not the first one during the past 4 years that King Salman has been ruling Saudi Arabia. But it appears that it was partly motivated by the international response to the Khashoggi crisis. The outgoing foreign minister Al-Jubair has been seen as partly responsible for managing the affairs of consulates, and since this event happened in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, perhaps Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, by removing him, is using him as a scapegoat by saying that he should have been partly informed, perhaps. Another trend that we observe in these changes is that two individuals who were affiliated with former King Abdullah have been replaced. Mohammed Adel al-Jubair, the foreign minister, was foreign minister for a long time, and he was an appointee of King Abdullah. And there has been another replacement. The head of National Guard was Prince Mehtab bin Abdullah, and he has been replaced by Prince Abdullah bin Bandar. So we have two people affiliated with former king being replaced by other individuals. This might also indicate that King Salman is trying to bring in new faces who are closer and have better relations with Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince. In other words, making a new cabinet which is more under his direct control.
Interesting. Mobin, there is no doubt that Saudi Arabia has suffered a huge backlash to the Khashoggi killing, at least politically. But what impact has it had financially and economically?
Look, you know that money makes the world go around. The wheels of fortune have just not been spinning for the kingdom, and that goes back before the killing. Certainly, this has not made matters any better for the kingdom. If you look at FDI flows in the immediate aftermath, those are down to under 5%. That 7% drop is about equal to the same amount of money that was pumped into the country in all of the year before that, in 2017. And we've seen stories about the government pumping in billions of dollars to prop up the stock market. It's probably going to have to spend hundreds of billions to prop up the rest of the economy. They've just announced a record budget, $295 billion. They've extended those government handouts for a third year, and yet the unemployment rate is at 13%, which is the highest in 10 years, at least 10 years. So clearly, this has had a major impact on the economy, on the stock market, and really that doesn't paint a pretty picture for the future.
Just as well, it does have a significant amount of cash reserves. But Nader, do you think businesses will return to Saudi Arabia once the backlash over the Khashoggi killing dies down?
Some of them will. And if we look at the reaction of businesses in different countries, clearly those in the Western world have shied away after the Khashoggi killing. But not everyone, and not all governments have shown the negative reaction we have observed from Western countries. For example, we saw the interaction between President Putin of Russia and Mohammad bin Salman during the meetings. We are showing the image right now. Also, Chinese have a tendency to remain neutral in all conflicts, and I don't anticipate China showing a significant negative reaction unless unless it is under international pressure. So the Saudi market is a very large market. They have a significant purchasing power. It is going to be down for maybe a year, partly because of the low oil prices. But in the long run, many businesses are interested in doing business in Saudi Arabia. So profit motive is very strong, and it doesn't necessarily always become subservient to moral or ethical concern. I do expect some businesses to stay away, but perhaps after 2 or 3 years, depending on how Saudi Arabia behaves, we might see a return by some businesses.
Interesting. Mobin, as we know, Vision 2030 is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's pet project to modernise Saudi Arabia's economy and make it less dependent on oil. How is that progressing, and has it been impacted by the Khashoggi killing?
Look, certainly this project was this vision was never just about the money. The kingdom needs skilled professionals to get on board, to join these projects, to get them off the ground. And according to Dubai-based NBD, there's been very little progress on that front so far. Many other media sources reporting the same thing. That's what we've seen on the ground as well. Secondly, that privatization program that has still not really gotten off the ground, unless the government actually puts out these assets to sell, what exactly are foreign investors supposed to be buying up besides greenfield projects, which have also not really been cropping up that fast. And then let's look at the ease of doing business. Saudi Arabia ranks 92nd in the world so far. It hasn't made any real gains over the past couple of years, and that puts it behind Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, and the UAE, pretty much the entire region.
Okay, well, I guess we will be keeping a close eye on the situation in Saudi Arabia going into the new year. Nader Habibi in Massachusetts and Mobin Nasir, thank you to you both once more.